Welcome to MindSwitch Books. You ever look at the greats like Da Vinci, Mozart, or Einstein and just wonder, how? How did they get so good? What if I told you it wasn't magic? What if there's a formula, a hidden path they all walk to achieve that level of greatness? Well, in this deep dive, we're pulling back the curtain on the secrets from Robert Greene's incredible book, Mastery. And I promise, by the time we're done here, you'll get the 3 essential phases of that journey, a clear roadmap to unlock your own potential and find excellence in whatever you choose.
So let's just start with the big question, right? Do you ever feel like you're capable of so much more, but something's just holding you back? In a world that's buzzing with information and opportunity, why does that true, deep level of excellence feel so out of reach for most of us? Greene argues the answer has nothing to do with talent. It has everything to do with not knowing the path.
And here's Greene's core diagnosis of the problem. Our culture today, it actually works against mastery. It's a world that's always dangling the easy path, the quick fix, the overnight success story right in front of our faces. We're told, hey, just follow your passion. But nobody talks about the pain. Nobody talks about the sacrifice. Nobody talks about the years and years of relentless, often frustrating work it takes to turn that spark of passion into real power.
So, to fight this, Greene says we have to reclaim something that's deep inside us. He argues that mastery isn't some gift for a select few. It's a primal power that's literally hardwired into our DNA. I mean, think about our earliest ancestors. To survive, they had to master hunting, making tools, reading the weather. They didn't have fancy degrees, but they had this intense, focused drive to learn, adapt, and get better. That's the power Greene says we've been taught to forget. And this book, well, it's pretty much the instruction manual for waking it back up.
And this right here, this is the central promise of the whole book. And it's why it's so important. Mastery is not a mystery. After digging through the lives of the greatest masters in history, Greene found a 3-step formula that they all followed, whether they realized it or not. It's a proven path. And in this breakdown, we're going to walk you through that exact formula, step by step.
Okay, so it all starts here with what Greene calls Phase 1, the ideal apprenticeship. Now, this isn't about just getting a job. No. This is a super important time of deep learning where your main goal is just to submit to reality. It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. At first, you're wobbly, you're scared, you fall down a lot. But every single time you fall, you learn something critical about balance and momentum. The apprenticeship is your time to fall down, to watch, to absorb the basic rules of your field, not from a book, but by actually doing it.
And look, let's be real, this phase is going to be hard. You're going to face boredom, frustration, and a ton of self-doubt. That's why this mindset, which is captured so perfectly by the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, is absolutely crucial. Just listen to this. Do not think that what is hard for you to master is humanly impossible. And if it is humanly possible, consider it to be within your reach. That's not just a nice quote, it's a command to yourself. It's the fuel you need to keep going when every part of you wants to give up.
So how do you actually get through this phase? Well, Greene lays out a bunch of strategies, but they really come down to these 3 ideas. First, you've got to value learning way more than money. You want to choose the job or opportunity that offers the most learning, even if it doesn't pay as well. Right now, your currency is knowledge. Second, you have to move toward resistance and pain. You've got to actively seek out the challenges that scare you. That resistance is what makes you sharp. And third, you just have to trust the process. Have faith that all those thousands of hours are literally changing your brain, even on the days it feels like you're not making any progress at all.
So let's be super clear about the mission here. In this first phase, your ego, that's the enemy. Any desire you have for comfort or for people to notice you or for a big paycheck, all that stuff is just a distraction. Your only job is to soak up reality like a sponge, to understand the rules of the game so well they become second nature. And why? Because you're not just building a foundation. You are forging a superpower of skill that's going to let you do almost anything you want later on.
So, after years of putting in the work during the apprenticeship, something really powerful starts to happen. You enter Phase 2. This is where you go from just being a learner to being a real practitioner. Think of it like this. In Phase 1, you were following a recipe to the letter. You learned every ingredient, every measurement. But now, in Phase 2, you're not just following the recipe anymore. You're starting to invent your own. You're playing with the flavors, making new combinations.
Now, here's a really crucial piece of this phase that a lot of people miss: developing what Greene calls social intelligence. See, you can't create in a bubble. The naive way of thinking, it gets you all tangled up in office politics and drama, and it just drains your energy. But social intelligence,
That's the skill of seeing people for who they actually are, understanding what drives them without getting all emotional about it. It lets you navigate the world so you can keep your focus where it belongs, on your work. And hey, speaking of value, if you're getting something out of this breakdown of the path to mastery, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It helps us out a ton. And be sure to share this with somebody who you know is on their own journey.
Once you start to get a handle on the social side of things, your own creative power just gets unleashed. And this stage it's thrilling. You start to push past the rules you worked so hard to learn. You experiment. You combine skills in ways nobody's thought of. And all of a sudden, you start seeing your field in a totally new way. Connections that were invisible before start to light up. Ideas just flow. And slowly but surely, your own unique voice, your own style, starts to come through.
And all that experimentation, that creation of a unique voice, it leads you to the final phase. This is the mountaintop. This is where the air is clear and the view just takes your breath away. This is true mastery. To everyone else, it looks almost superhuman. It's this incredible fusion of all your rational knowledge with a powerful gut-level intuition.
So what does it take to get to this mountaintop? Well, Greene gives us a number. We've all heard the 10,000-hour rule, right? Greene says for the highest level of mastery, the kind that literally changes a field, the real number is closer to 20,000 hours of focused, deliberate practice. I know, that number can feel huge, but think about it. It's about 10 years of working full-time. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And time? Well, time is the price of admission to this level.
So what do you get for all that time? You get what Greene calls masterly intuition. And this is not some kind of psychic power. It's actually something you already know. Remember when you first learned to drive a car? You had to think about every single thing, the gas, the brake, the mirrors. But now you just drive. It's intuitive. Masterly intuition is that same thing, just on a genius level. It's what happens when your brain has absorbed so much information that it can make these incredibly fast, accurate leaps without you even consciously thinking about it. It's that fingertip feel for your subject.
Greene tells this amazing story in the book about Temple Grandin. She's a brilliant animal scientist who's also on the autism spectrum. And she had this huge problem to solve. How do you really understand the stress that cattle feel in a feedlot? Now, she could have just stood back and collected data like any other scientist, but to get that deep, intuitive feel, to achieve real mastery, she did something that nobody had ever even considered, something radical.
She literally got down on her hands and knees and crawled through the chutes herself. She experienced the weird shadows, the noises, the feeling of confinement from a cow's point of view. She completely immersed herself in their world to understand it from the inside out. She didn't just study her subject, she became her subject. And because of that, she had an insight so profound that she was able to completely redesign and revolutionize the entire livestock industry. Just incredible. So as we wrap this up, the big takeaway from Greene's incredible book is a message of empowerment. The path to mastery is long, and yes, it's really hard, and it's going to test you in every way. But it's not a secret. It's a clear process that is available to you right now, if you just have the discipline and the patience to walk the path.
A good way to think about the whole thing is like climbing a giant mountain. Phase 1, the apprenticeship, that's your base camp. It's where you learn the ropes and build your strength. Phase 2, the creative active phase, that's the real climb. You're starting to find your own way up, trying new routes. And finally, Phase 3, mastery, that's the summit. That's the peak where you can finally see the whole world with a clarity you just couldn't have from down below.
And, the ultimate prize for making that climb is so much more than fame or money. The journey itself fundamentally changes who you are. That kind of intense focus doesn't just give you a skill, it literally reshapes your mind. After thousands and thousands of hours, your mind becomes this perfectly tuned instrument that can hear the deep, complex music of reality that most people, well, they just miss completely.
And that brings us to the last and maybe the most important question. Greene says that the very first step, before anything else, is to connect with what he calls your life's task. That thing you're uniquely drawn to that will power you through this long journey. So the path is clear now. The formula's right in front of you. The only question left is the big one. What is your life's task? What will you choose to master? Thank you so much for joining us here at MindSwitch Books for this deep dive into Robert Greene's mastery. If you're feeling inspired to start your own journey, this book is an absolute must-have guide. We've really only scratched the surface here. To get your own copy and really dig in, just click the link in the description below. And please, don't forget to subscribe to MindSwitch Books for more breakdowns of life-changing books. We'll see you in the next one.